Hello, everyone, and welcome again to K Podcast. So, if you guys have not heard, there've been military coups in West Africa, in Mali, and this is the thing, and also Niger recently. So, I have been looking at this story, although normally I do not do, I do political topics over here, but not mostly about African political, topics. But this story is so interesting because I find myself very drawn into this particular topic because this is the thing. Although a lot of African countries claim democracy and them being a sovereign nation, many of the time you see that they are not really sovereign. There is always somebody having a hand or telling them how to rule or what to do. And this is the thing that really annoys me in this particular topic. Everybody calls Africa poor. They call the continent poor, a dark country. And if you look at the meaning of Africa, you will be very shocked. The fact that somebody would come up with that name, Africa, it is the land of darkness and death. Meanwhile, if you know the original name of the continent, you'll be also shocked because the continent was the meaning of the first name. Is it Akubu land or something? Was named the land of the sunrise and very pleasant meaning. Now the fact that Africa has a lot of resources and the West and everybody else want to benefit from that resources or actually you know want that resources. And yet with all of these resources, like let's talk about Niger is the one country that a lot of European nations depend on when it comes to uranium. And you might be asking, what is uranium? Uranium is a material that they use for you know for a lot of lights, for making lights, for electricity. And this is a material that they use for making all of this for. And Niger, the country itself, mostly do not have electricity. So the military decided to go on a coup, take over the whole thing because they feel like corruption, the president was corrupted, and all of that. It is very shocking to me when I see other West African countries literally trying to go fight these people. I'm like, no, because this is the thing, you're trying to go do your master's betting, and it is very interesting. They are out here to, because this is the thing, I feel like some of them are also afraid that it might be coming to their doorstep. A lot of people say African countries are corrupted, but they forget about talking about the people that also support that corruption from the outside, that enables it. So I'm going to be bringing up some clip over here, and then I'm going to be giving my own opinion on this particular interesting topic. Because I find it interesting that France is crying. This is a country that all of you Western media call poor, but you're fighting for the resources. If they are so poor, why are you fighting for the resources? Why is everybody up in the uproar? Because many of these countries are not poor. And that's another thing. When I hear about migration of many Africans going to Europe, and I hear people talking about, oh, they're coming for poor country, because a lot of the Western countries actually enable the fact that those countries are still poor. So you take their resources, but when the people want to migrate to your countries, you close the borders, but their resources is okay. Let me bring this video up in here.
ECOWAS have frozen.
And it is very disappointing to see other Western African countries. This is the thing, they are also afraid that there might be a coup in their own countries. They are afraid that people might actually start seeing this because the fact that Mali and Niger and all other Sudan, are having all this problem, they are not thinking about what is the main reason why this is going on. It's because the people, the infrastructure in many of these countries are not stable. It's being handled by corrupted politicians, most of them, which only benefits themselves and whomever they think they're serving. A lot of these countries do not need military. They do not need aids. They have enough resources to have been civilized already, to have grown already, but they can't because of a lot of corrupted people in power. Although the West might be like, yeah, they are corrupted people in power, but yet when it comes to it, many of you do support them.
The West African coup in its tracks. Niger's Western backers and the regional bloc ECOWAS have frozen millions of dollars in aid. And on Sunday, Chad's President Idriss Deby met with Niger's ousted leader Mohamed Bazoum and separately with coup leader Abdurrahman Chiani in an effort to end the crisis.
Je ne suis pas en capacité de vous dire
I am not able to tell you what they have discussed. You have seen President Deby. He has met with the president and with the putschists. And what I can tell you is that at the end of these meetings, he returned to Chad. So I believe that very soon we will hear about the conclusions of these meetings. What I know is that everything is in place for the constitutional order to be re-established as soon as possible.
Such measures may include the use of force.
But it's the threat of
Force in what? You want to, and this is the thing. I like the fact that they said if you do this, this is a declaration of war. Because you're trying to cross your state line or your country line to other side while they're trying to better up themselves. Because if you listen to the reason why this happened, it kind of do make sense.
Of direct intervention that has alarmed Niger's military. On Sunday, ECOWAS threatened to use force unless civilian rule was restored within a week. And coup leaders have accused France, which has thousands of troops in Niger, of plotting an attack. That's been denied by Paris. Neighbouring Mali and Burkina Faso, themselves governed by military juntas, have rallied around the officers who ousted President Bazoum.
We refuse to apply these illegal, illegitimate and inhumane sanctions against the people of Niger. We warn that any military intervention against Niger will be considered as a declaration of war against Burkina Faso and Mali.
The US hasn't announced any sanctions so far, instead offering Niger's military time to reverse course.
We haven't made a determination yet because it is still an ongoing fluid situation. It is clear that there has been an attempt to remove President Bazoum from office. It's not yet clear that attempt will ultimately be successful, so U.S. assistance hinges on continued democratic governance in Niger.
And if Niger's military isn't swayed by the exodus of much-needed aid, it'll likely be felt by the millions of people living in one of the world's poorest countries. Alex Beard, Al Jazeera.
Okay, in the world's most poorest country, you heard the reporter. The world's most poorest country, but rich in resources, which a lot of people are using. So it is poor in money-wise, and this is the thing when they talk about AIDS. Who are these aids going to? Because it's not going to the people. When I hear the people will suffer if they do not get AIDS, I'm like, who are you helping with these AIDS? Because even my own country, I'm not gonna lie, I hear a lot of people talking about AIDS. I've never seen AIDS people sharing whatever AIDS they're talking about. What AIDS? You mean the fact that the poor cannot afford to go to the hospital? They don't have good facilities. They don't have electricities. The poor cannot feed themselves. If you're sick, you die. Which aid are we talking about? What aids are we talking about? The rich over there, the politicians are the ones controlling everything. Okay, maybe you are not going to give the politicians the aids. Let's just talk about that. Maybe the politicians are the ones that are going to suffer when nobody gets any aids. Because the aids are not going to the people. I don't understand whenever things like this come up. Like what he said, the world most poorest country, but very rich in resources. The uranium that Niger produce is used by many of the European countries. France in particular have like getting 30% of their uranium from Niger. The whole of European Union gets around 25% of uranium from this one country. And people are out here being very bold enough to say they are poor. How are they poor? The world most poorest country, you call them. How are they poor with all those resources? Could it be that the politicians are the ones pocketing the money? Could it be that the corruption that is happening in that country have reached to an extent that the military have to take over? Could it be that you're supporting corrupted politicians that you know well that they are corrupted, but as long as you get your resources, you don't care? At the end of the day, the West will only look after itself. They will only look after themselves. And as long as they're getting things cheap, because this is the thing, one thing I've noticed in my years of living is that whenever anything wants to benefit other countries, especially when it comes to African countries, and it does not, it balances some way, somehow, that the West have to pay like what they should normally pay, it becomes a problem because everybody they mostly want the things cheaper. This is the thing, the world, the Western media calls many African countries and their politicians corrupted. It is very surprising to me that these are the same people that you're coming out and trying to support. You will never they will talk about how corrupted their politicians are and how poor their countries are, but yet do business with them. Why is that? And the other thing is, when I see Africans literally trying to cross over to Europe and they put on that border, or they literally say, oh, you can't come in, but you want to go over there and take their uranium, their resources, their oil, their gold, every other thing that they have to offer. Why don't you say you don't want those either? It is very disheartening. And I'm going to say it is very interesting when you look into political topics like this. African countries are the poorest, but richest when it comes to natural resources. When it comes to natural resources. So how can a country that is rich in natural resources, a whole continent that is rich in natural resources, be one of the poorest continents in the planet? Could it be that the corruption in the high level, in the political part, in the political stage, is being sponsored or supported by other people? Why are you doing business with these corrupted people that you say they're well known? The Western media always call them corrupted politicians. And you're talking about aid. The aid topic, people talking about giving them aid. Let me tell you something. Your aid are not reaching the people that you say is reaching. People are going to suffer. People are already suffering. People are already suffering. What other suffering are they going to suffer? There are people that have not eaten for 2 days in many of these countries. Your aid is not helping them. Maybe your aids are helping the people that you are having business with, but it is not helping the individuals, the people of that land. Now I'm going to leave this in this particular part over here. And I'm going to say this. Thank you all for watching. Do not forget to press the like button and subscribe. And I will see you all on the next one. Have a great day and goodbye.